crime for me was always more appealing than living what they call a straight goer's life. It was always more glamorous. It just didn't appeal to me. Paying bills by working 40 hours a week. I used to take the piss out of people like me now. Me now living in a straight going life, married, paying bills, crying about my shit wages. I as a teenager and as someone in my 20s, I would have laughed and taken the piss out of me now. But as someone in my 40s, I laugh and take the piss out of him. Always ended up in prison. So, yeah, it's the problem of instant gratification. That was always my biggest problem. They teach you about it in prison. You go on the the cognitive behaviour courses, and they put a pig on the board, and it's the problem with instant gratification. Now, again, there was a lot I didn't recognise when I was in my 20s and in my teens. So again, we'll use this video as a bit of an insight into my mindset at the time. I'm not doing this to glamorise crime because nothing about what I used to do was glamorous. Always ended up in prison. So this is a bit of an insight into why I chose crime in and out of prison rather than just going straight and taking the opportunities that were offered to me. So I didn't recognise it at the time, but when my brother came out of prison when I was 14, he started to have an influence on my life. I denied it for so long. I didn't recognise it. But looking back now, the time he came out of prison and the time I started drug dealing was almost within the same sort of 2 months. We went to go and visit him when he was in the Verne. He was just finishing off a 4-year sentence or maybe slightly more. And he wanted somewhere to stay, so we went to go and see him. And that was the first time I'd actually seen a drugs transaction in prison as well, because sort of halfway through the visit, he pointed out another couple sat on a table nearby, and just asked my mum if he could go and when we get out of the prison, if we could go and give his missus 20 quid. I didn't understand it at the time, but obviously he was paying for drugs that he'd had in prison, and get my mum to pay for them on the visit. I just found that weird. I'm 14 years old. My mum's taking me to a prison, and I'm witnessing drug deals and things. And again, that was my life. My mum used to smoke small amounts of hash in front of us and just kind of say it was all okay and everything, blah blah blah. And I was a good kid at the time. I kind of I didn't like it, but as soon as I saw my older brother selling drugs, and as soon as I saw the people in the rap songs that I used to listen to talking about smoking weed and doing this, then suddenly it just became more acceptable. Weirdly, I went from a little kid who didn't like drugs to selling them. Now, like I say, looking back, I can recognise now that it was that 14-year-old, that period of time there, those 2 months when my brother came out of prison. He started going to the gym straight away. He carried on. He was obviously in good shape when he came out of prison. He carried on being in good shape. He used to go and spend a few hours in the gym every day, and he'd sit around playing, computer games the rest of the time. And within a few weeks, he started making good money. So he moved out, got his own place, he just seemed to be living this. As a teenage boy, he was living the dream, sitting around with his mates playing computer games all day in a little bedsit. What was better than that? And also, the girls that knock around with blokes who commit crime, I started to notice it straight away, as in, girls just have that bit more of a glint in their eye when they're talking to someone who's just come out of prison and things. And it's very appealing to be always that person in the room who's exciting and got something about them. Now, when you're Barry from accounts, that you don't get that same look in your eye when you tell people that if you just come out, if you walk into the room and you're the one who's just come out of prison, then suddenly there's a bit of a buzz in the air, and everyone wants to sort of know about you and talk to you and things. And listening to this podcast, would you be listening to this if I was talking about my my account manager role? No. It's just people like exciting lives, and they like being around people who live exciting lives. And coming out of prison and crime is exciting. So I think, seeing that buzz of energy around, that's what I chose, and that's what I kind of plugged into. It wasn't long until I was selling drugs, not only to my friends, but to the community and then everything else that came with it. So that was way more glamorous to me than going out and working. Now, intermittently, I did have little jobs. Every now and then, I'd get fed up with the lifestyle, the bullshit that comes with selling drugs, and I'd think, fuck it, I'm just going to get a normal job just to pay the bills, and I'd sell a little bit of weed on the top just to kind of live a good life. And then you sit there and you take shit, you know, and you go through the induction processes at a local factory, or, you know, you fucking sit there in an office and you have to take shit off people. And, you know, bearing in mind I'm only a teenager, so no one's taking me seriously. And yeah, it's just bollocks. And, you know, I'd end up doing jobs. The shortest time I worked in one place is I didn't even make it through the induction. You know, I got there at 9 o'clock in the morning and walked out at lunchtime because I was just like, you're sitting there telling me that I've got to be grateful. And I know, I remember he asked the room if anyone wanted to work overtime, and everyone put their hand up, and I didn't, because I was just like, you know, I don't want to be here any longer. And, you know, the extra £2 you're going to pay me for being here, you know, that's bullshit. I'm not doing it. And everyone looked at me weird because I hadn't put my hand up for the overtime, and I just looked at them all, just thinking, like, you poor fools. You know, I could earn the money you're earning over the phone. You know, and I didn't get it. I didn't understand why people worked for fuck all money. I still don't. So yeah, I would always choose that kind of more glamorous life now. Just to give you a bit of insight into my day as a career criminal. So later on in life, you know, once I'm established and I'm selling drugs, so what I would do, my day would normally start around sort of 11 o'clock in the morning. I'd wake up. Now, the way I used to protect myself, because the police will always come around and sort of kick your door in about sort of, you know, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that. That's the first round of snatches they go around and do. After they've taken all those people down to the custody, then they'll go out and they'll do the second round of kind of like snatches, where they'll come and arrest the B criminals, if you want. So they'll come around about 10 o'clock in the morning, something like this, 9, 10 o'clock. And yeah, they'll just come and take you down to the police station. But yeah, after that, you're pretty much safe. You know, you've got a good chance that if, you know, they're not going to come around and routinely find you, you know. So I used to put all of my stuff in a Tupperware box. So the scales, the bags, any drugs paraphernalia. You used to just be able to look at the room and just go, if the police walked in here now and they found me with all this stuff, what's going to get me in trouble? And anything that I'd identify would get me in trouble would go into these Tupperware boxes, and I'd put them in a carry bag, and I'd go and take them out, and I'd stash them somewhere that was completely out of the way of everybody, so nobody could just go and stumble across them or anything like that. But also, you know, more fittingly, it was away from me. So if the police did come and raid, they wouldn't find anything on me. And that was my routine every morning. You know, I'd get up, you know, about 11 o'clock, go and get my stash bag, come down, switch the phone on, start sorting people out. You know, by lunchtime, I could have made a couple of £100 just from, you know, people coming around and things. You know, and then I've talked about how I used to smoke a lot of weed. That'd be the first thing I'd do, get myself high, and start dishing people out, really, just, you know, serving up the drugs they need to do their day. When I first started selling drugs, I'd only be really doing it at the weekend, so it would be sort of Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The beauty of selling cocaine and things like that is that it's really moreish, and people would start coming back. So, you know, if you sorted someone out at 8, 9 o'clock for a party they were going to, by about midnight they'd be on your phone again, you know, getting everybody else down. And by about 4 or 5 in the morning, they'd be on the phone again, clearing out their bank account to get another hit. And I would always, if there was ever a party to go to, I would always go to the party rather than getting the people to come to me, because my philosophy was that, you know, if I sit down and dish out a couple of bags to people and then rack up a couple of lines, then 4 or 5 other people are going to come over to me and start buying drugs off me. Whereas, you know, if I just go and meet this one person who's going to a party in a back alley somewhere, and, you know, I might sort them out, but, you know, I didn't get any more customers from it. So yeah, I was always quite business savvy. I'd always run little promotions as well. I'd say to people that if they bought a certain amount of drugs in a week, then I'd give them 25% off the next week, that sort of thing. I was your friendly neighbourhood drug dealer. But yeah, that was my life, and you know, I'd live from, you know, lunchtime till 5 or 6 in the morning, and yeah, I'd make hundreds of pounds in a day, or I'd make nothing, or I'd make thousands of pounds in a week, or I'd make nothing. And that was my life. Like I say, occasionally I used to go and get jobs, but I'd last very little time before either taking shit off a manager, or just the whole mentality of turning up, working for 8 or 9 hours doing the same thing, just really fucking wore me down, you know. But in the end, you had to get there, because the benefits of working and having an easy life far outweigh any short-term gains you get from selling drugs and from that criminal lifestyle. You know, I can always see back to the opportunities that I blew, and one of them was when I was on the resettlement wing in Dartmoor. They gave me every opportunity to live a crime-free life, and I just threw it back in their face. You know, I was always of the mindset that I would always manipulate the situation I was in to benefit me in the best way possible. So even though I spent 18 months jumping through all their hoops to make it look like I was, you know, reformed and changed, the very first town visit I was awarded, which, if you don't know what a town visit is, it's a day that you basically get from 9 till 5 out of the prison. You can go and spend it with your family. Yeah, we used to go down to Plymouth and just spend the day in Plymouth. And it was great. You had to work fucking hard for it, and I had to go and, you know, like I say, jump through every hoop, do every course. But yeah, I was rewarded with a you know, regular town visits out of prison. But even on the very first town visit, I went and bought a computer game and smuggled it back into prison. Now, this could have got me kicked off the wing. It could have got me sent back onto the main prison. You know, I could have lost my parole because of this. There was so much I could have thrown away. But because I wanted that computer game more than I was worried about the you know, the risk, then I jumped at the opportunity. And because I got away with it, then I just started smuggling more and more and more into the prison. And again, I was always of the mindset where I wasn't prepared to wait. And as long as I felt like I could get away with it, I would do anything, absolutely anything, to achieve my goals. And I never saw a problem with that. Until obviously you get caught. And then suddenly that whole thing comes crashing down around you and you have nothing. And you just kind of stand back and you think, well, I had a good run. You know, I had a really good run and it came to an end. You don't see that, you know, for those large gains, those large short-term gains, I blew my future. And what I mean by that is, you know, I was on the resettlement wing. At one point I was getting driving lessons. I was, you know, about a month away from completing my driving test. Things were going well with my girlfriend outside. I was working for the Forestry Commission. You know, the prison had got me a job working for the forestry. I was going out cutting down trees and things on the moor all day. And it was one of the first times in my life that I'd actually had a kind of work and reward structure. My boss on the forestry had worked there for like 30 years, and the boss before him had worked like 40 years. And these guys had made it appealing to me to actually turn up 9 to 5, do something that I was good at, and then get paid a small reward, but it's an honest reward. And nobody was ever knocking on the door. Nobody was ever coming to kick your head in. And for the first time in my life, I'd actually started to notice that it was probably a good way of life. And I was even starting to think about, you know, not coming back to Cornwall, not coming back to my local area, and just, you know, staying out of the way so I could stay out of trouble. But obviously, the more I started partying again, you know, I was coming out of prison on home leaves and just tearing it up with my friends, partying, and then going back, you know, into prison again. And it was yeah, I wasn't, you know, I hadn't left my life enough, so the temptation was always still there. So when the opportunity to smuggle my phone, I had a mobile phone outside of prison that I would smuggle back into the prison on the weekends, and I got caught one weekend, you know, because I wanted to talk to girls, I wanted to talk to my friends, you know. I didn't want to wait till Monday morning to get back in contact with everybody again. So, you know, again, in my head, that instant gratification, I didn't see that smuggling my phone into prison was too much of a risk, but the reward was huge. You know, I could sit there all night just chatting to my friends and things and having a laugh. But I blew my future because basically I got caught one weekend and I got kicked off the wing, and everything I'd worked for was gone. And I didn't get the job. There was a job coming up on the forestry, obviously because I couldn't drive. I missed my fucking driving test. I missed off the application process for the fucking job. So I didn't get the job. So when I came out of prison, I was back on my ass again. You know, I had some money in the bank, but I just had to fall back on my own knowledge, which is always get on the phone, buy some drugs, go and sell them. That's easy for me. You know, I made a weekly wage 2 days, in the first 2 days of coming out of prison, just because I know how to do it. But I didn't know how to fill out the forms. I didn't know how to do the long game. I didn't know how to stay out of trouble long enough to fucking reward myself with everything that comes with staying out of prison. So, yeah, like I say, I used to look back and laugh at people like me. But now I look back and laugh at people like him. The long game, as much as it's mentally tasking, and much as it throws out more challenges, I would rather put away £2 a week now for something that I want to buy that's expensive in future, and wait a year, 18 months, than blow all the cash that I've got and blow my situation on that instant gratification anymore. So if you've got people in your life around you, you've maybe got kids, or there's maybe someone who's getting in trouble, or you can see them going down that path, then the long game is something you've got to teach them, and you've got to get them working towards. That work reward tie is massive. The problem with instant gratification is, and it ties back to everything. So when they're going out on the streets, it's because they're out having a laugh. It's because they've got nothing else going on in their lives. And, that little laugh of buzz of energy they have with their friends and going out drinking in the park and all that kind of shit. It's all instant gratification, Sitting there telling them to read a book because one day they might end up like someone like me. That might not ring true with them. There's some kids in my town at the moment, and they're little fucking tearaways. They're always getting in trouble. A few of them nearly got mugged the other day. A lad walking through town nearly got mugged the other day, but luckily he was able to defend himself and things. But it's just that, I sit back and I think, I wish they'd tried that shit with me. I'll bust their fucking head open. But maybe I should be out there going, put my arm around them and just saying, listen, you're going to end up like me if you don't fucking sort your act out. Now, I wouldn't have listened to someone like me coming and talking to me. I don't know what good it would do. Maybe we need to, get them in the boxing ring. Maybe that's everything. Sorry, just get everyone down to boxing. It's like I say, the problem with instant gratification was the reason I became a career criminal. I never wanted to put in the hard work that it took to live a normal life. It is hard. My life now is so much more hard than it was when I was a career criminal, because I'm turning off every day to work, taking shit off people that I don't respect, and earning piss poor money for it. And that's what I've got to keep getting up for every day. Whereas, like I say, it would be so easy for me to just get on the phone, get some drugs, and then go and sell them. But that's a short-term life, and it only leads to short-term goals with long-term consequences. Thank you very much for listening again. Thank you.